Hello everyone, we are the group 5 and now we are going to discuss about the assigned topic entitled the 1935 Constitution.
1935 The Commonwealth Constitution. It is worth mentioning that after the Treaty of Paris, the Philippines was subject to the power of the United States of America, effectively the new colonizer of the country. From 1898 to 1901, the Philippines would be placed under a military government until a civil government will be put into place. So, pagkatapos daw po ng Treaty of Paris, Philippines subject to the power of us or sumailalim yung bansa natin sa US. So, mula po 1898 hanggang 1901, sumailalim ang bansa natin sa pamahalaang militar until mailagay na iyong isang pamalahang sibil. Kasi po, diba noon, after manakop ng Spain, ng Espanya, dumating yung Amerikano sa bansa natin to help us. Naglahad sila ng mga ikakabuti para sa Pilipinas. Isa na rito yung pag-establish ng military government. The President of the United States established it to maintain the peace of our country. Two acts of the United States Congress were passed that may be considered to have qualities of constitutionality. First was the Philippine Organic Act of 1902, the first organic law for the Philippine Islands that provided for the creation of a popularly elected Philippine Assembly. The act specified that legislative power will be vested in a bicameral legislature composed of the Philippine Commission as the upper house and Philippine Assembly lower house. Key provisions of the act included a Bill of Rights for Filipinos and the appointment of two non-voting Filipino resident commissioners of the Philippines as representative to the United States House of Representatives. The second act that functioned as a constitution was the Philippine Autonomy Act of 1916, commonly referred to as JHON's Law, which modified the structure of the Philippine government through removal of the Philippine Commission, replacing it with Senate that served as the powerhouse and its member elected by the Filipinos voters, the first truly elected national legislator. So it's not just the military government that the United States has passed, may two acts pa ng US. These are the Philippine Organic Act of 1902 and the Philippine Autonomy Act of 1916. So, the Philippine Organic Act provided for the creation of an elected Philippine Assembly. So, after ng pagpupulong of the Assembly, yung kapangyarihang pambatas ay parang ibibigay daw sa isang bicameral na legislator. So, ito pong bicameral legislator na tinutukoy is composed of the Philippine Commission as the upper house and the Philippine Assembly as the lower house. The second act passed is the Philippine Autonomy Act of 1916 or sinatawag na JHON's Law. Ito pong batas na ito ay nagpabago sa struktura ng gobyerno ng Pilipinas by abolishing the Philippine Commission, replacing it with the Senate which served as an upper house at yung mga members were elected by Filipino voters, ang unang tunay na nahalal ng pambansang lehislatura. In 1932, with the effort of the Filipino Independence Mission led by Sergio Osmeña and Manuel Rojas, the United States Congress passed the Harry-Hose Act with promise of granting Philippines independence. The bill was opposed by then Senate President Manuel L. Quezon and consequently rejected by the Philippine Senate. So, in 1932 daw po, the United States has passed a law which is the Harry-Hose Act. So, this was the first United States law passed setting a process and a date for the Philippines to gain independence. But the Senate President Manuel L. Quezon opposed the act due to its objectionable features kasi naniniwala rin sila na yung batas ay hindi naman talaga ito na nagbigay ng kalayaan sa Pilipinas. It is true na ang United States marami na itulong sa atin sa Pilipinas noon. They provided our needs before, but like Spain, gusto rin ng mga Amerikano na maging kolonya nila itong bansa natin. So, Manuel L. Quezon rejected it.
Primary source: Preamble of the 1935 Commonwealth Constitution. The Filipino people, imploring the aid of divine providence, in order to establish a government that shall embody their ideals, conserve and develop the patrimony of the nation, promote the general welfare, and secure to themselves and their posterity the blessing of independence under a regime of justice, liberty, and democracy. Do ordain and promulgate the Constitution. The Constitution created the Commonwealth of the Philippines, an administrative body that governed the Philippines from 1935 to 1948. It is transitional administration to prepare the country towards its full achievement of independence. It originally provided for an unicameral National Assembly with a president and vice president elected to a 6-year term without re-election. So yan daw po, ang sambayang Pilipino ay humingi ng tulong sa Divine Providence upang magtatag ng isang pamahalaan na kakatawan sa kanilang mga mithiin at pangalagaan at paunlarin ang patrimonya ng ating bansa at itaguyod ang pangkalahatang kapakanan at makamit ang pagpapala ng kalayaan sa ilalim ng isang rehimen ng katarungan at kalayaan, demokrasya, at upang mag-ordain at magpahayag ng konstitusyon. Ang konstitusyon ay lumikha ng isang Commonwealth na bansa, isang administratibong katawan na mamahala sa Pilipinas mula 1935 hanggang 1948. At ito daw po ay isang transitional na administrasyon upang hinda ang ating bansa sa ganap nitong tagumpay ng kalayaan. Ito ay original na naglaan para sa isang unicameral na pangbansang asembleya na may isang pangulo at vice presidente na inihalal sa isang 6 na taong termino ng walang muling halalan na naganap. By 1934, another law, the Tidings-McDuffie Act, also known as the Philippine Independence Act, was passed by the United States Congress that provided authority and defined mechanism for the establishment of a formal constitution by a constitutional convention. The members of the convention were elected and held their first meeting on July 30, 1934, with Claro M. Recto unanimously elected as president. The constitution was crafted to meet the approval of the United States government and to ensure that the United States would live up to its promise to grant independence to the Philippines. It was amended in 1940 to have a Congress composed of a Senate and a House of Representatives, the creation of an independent electoral commission, and limited the term of the office of the President and Vice President to 4 years, with one bicameral as well as re-election. While the dominant influence in the Constitution was American, it also bears traces of the Malolos Constitution, the German, Spanish, Mexican Constitution, and Constitution of several South American countries, in the unwritten English Constitution. The draft of the Constitution was approved by the Constitutional Convention on February 8, 1935 and ratified by then U.S. President Franklin B. Roosevelt on March 25, 1935. Elections were held in September 1935 and Manuel L. Quezon was elected President of the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth was briefly interrupted by the events of the World War II, with the Japanese occupying the Philippines. Afterward, upon liberation, the Philippines was declared an independent republic on July 4, 1946. Naipatupad ito na nga po ang Tidings-McDuffie. Nakilala rin bilang Philippine Independence Act na kagad na tinatag noong Hulyo 30, 1934 at napili po ng Pangulo ay si Claro M. Recto at pinabunuan niya ang pagbuo daw ng saligang batas. Dahil sinikap noon ng mga Pilipino na magkaroon ng saligang batas na katanggap-tanggap sa Pangulo ng Estados Unidos dahil ito daw po isang proseso na dapat mangyari para makalaya ang Pilipinas at magkaroon ng isang republika at demokratikong pamahalaan pagkatapos ng 10 taon. At nung ang konstitusyon ay binago daw po noong 1940 upang lumikha ng isang kongreso na binubuo ng isang senado at kapulungan ng mga kinatawan, isang hiwalay na komisyon sa elektoral at upang limitahan ang mga termino ng ating Pangulo at Vice Presidente sa 4 na taon. Bagamat nangingibabaw ang impluwensya ng konstitusyong Amerikano noon, mayroon din itong mga bakas ng konstitusyon ng Malolos, ng Aleman, Espanyol at Mexico at mga konstitusyon ng ilang bansa sa Timog Amerika. Noong Pebrero 8, 1935 ay naprubahan ang konstitusyon at pinagtibay ng Pangulo ng Amerika na si Franklin Roosevelt na nagsagawa ng halalan noong September 1935, at ito na nga po ay si Manuel Quezon ang nahalal na bilang Pangulo ng Commonwealth. Ang Commonwealth ay panandaliang naantala o natigil po nung pangyayari ng ikalawang digmaang pandaigdig kung saan sinakop tayo ng mga Hapones, at pagkatapos ideklara ang kalayaan ng Pilipinas ay naging isang malayang bansa noong Hulyo 4, 1946.
What does the document Artifact say about the 1935 Constitution? At its preamble say, the Filipino people imploring the aid of divine providence in order to establish a government that shall embody their ideals, conserve and develop the patrimony of the nation, promote the general welfare, and secure to themselves and their posterity the blessings of independence under a regime of justice, liberty, and democracy, to ordain and promulgate this Constitution. The 1935 Constitution is the legal standard made the authorities in the perspective of an American-based system. This has been formed before the general independence of the nation takes place, before establishing the country's independence with the American-inspired Constitution. The 1935 Constitution established the legal basis of the Commonwealth government, which was called a transition government. So, sinasabi dito na ang sabayan ng Pilipino na humihiling sa tulong ng banal na providence upang magtatag ng isang pamahalaan na magtataglay ng kanilang mga mithiin, mag-ingat at magpapaunlad ng patrimonya ng bansa, magtataguyod ng pangkalahatang kapakanan at matiyak sa kanilang sarili at sa kanilang mga inaapo ang mga pinagpapala ng kalayaan sa ilalim ng isang rehimen ng katarungan, kalayaan at demokrasya na nag-orden at naghahayag ng konstitusyong ito. So, ang 1935 Constitution ay ang legal na pamantayan na ginawa ng mga awtoridad sa pananaw ng isang sistemang nakabase sa Amerika. Ito ay nabuo bago pa maganap ang pangkalatang kalayaan ng bansa. So, bago ito tatag ang kasarinlan ng bansa gamit ang isang inspiradong konstitusyon ng Amerika, itinatag ng Konstitusyong 1935 ang legal ng batayan ng pamahalaang Commonwealth na tinawag ng pamahalaang transisyon. The Philippine Constitution of 1935, which established the Commonwealth of the Philippines, was based on the concept of the separation of power between the different branches of government, the executive, legislative, and judiciary, which has been similar to what we have right now. The following are significant provisions of the Constitution of 1935, a legislative body consisting of a Senate and the House of Representatives. The President shall be elected together with the Vice President to a 4-year term without re-election. The right of male people of the Philippines to vote who are 21 years of age or older and are able to read and write. The right of women to vote shall be expanded within 2 years after the adoption of Constitution. So dito, sinasabing ang Constitution ng Pilipinas ng 1935 na nagtatag ng Commonwealth ng Pilipinas ay batay sa konsepto ng paghihiwalay ng kapangyarihan sa pagitan ng iba't ibang sangay ng pamahalaan, ang tagapagtanggap, ang legislative and judiciary na naging katulad ng kung anumang mayroon tayo ngayon. Ang mga sumusunod ay makabuluhang provision ng Constitution ng 1935, isang legislative body na binubuo ng isang Senado at isang House of Representatives. Ang Pangulo ay dapat ihalal kasama ang Vice-Presidente sa isang 4 na taong panunungkulan nang walang muling halalan na magaganap. So, ang karapatan ng mga lalaking mamamayan ng Pilipinas na bumoto na 21 taong gulang o mas matanda o marunong bumasa at sumulat. Ang karapatan ng kababaihan na bumuo ay dapat palawakin sa loob ng 2 taon pagkatapos ng pagtibayin ang konstitusyon. Correspondingly, the Constitution of 1935 was formulated with an eye to the approval of the government of the United States to ensure that the United States would live up to its pledge to grant independence to the Philippines. It is a precautionary measure to live with its premises to keep the premises intact for the freedom of the country. The Philippine government would still be locked in creating a model on its government structure after the American government. It seems to say that the 1935 Constitution was the best written Philippine agreement ever. And these modern times in which we practice the law of our own independence, the 1935 Constitution plays a big role in performing and transforming the current system we have. The 1935 Constitution seemed to serve the nation well. It gave the Philippines 26 years of steady constitutional government during the period. It is codified law that determines the powers and duties of the government, and it embodies certain rights of the people.
What was the provenance of source of the document or artifact? The Constitution is regarded as the supreme law of the country, whether written or unwritten, as it provides a foundation for both the validity of any legislative action that are required for its existence. It is collected statute that specifies a government powers and duties, and it represents the people certain privilege after a procession of creating a new assembly. The Constitution of 1935 held was created for the new Commonwealth. The document, the 1935 Constitution, was ratified by the Filipino people through a national plebiscite of May 14, 1935 and came into full force and effect on November 15, 1935 with the inauguration of the Commonwealth of the Philippines. Who authorized it? A constitutional convention was formed to draft a charter for the Philippines when the United States Congress approved the creation of a constitution for the Philippines in compliance with the Tiding-McDuffie Act of 1934 and completed its work on February 8, 1935. The new charter passed into accordance with this act upon the inauguration of Commonwealth of the Philippines on November 15, 1935. Proclamation number 36 was issued by President Manuel L. Quezon year later, 1936, announcing each year the 8th of February as Constitution Day to celebrate the completion of the project of the Constitutional Convention of 1934. Throughout the Commonwealth of the Philippines and the Third Republic, this commemoration was celebrated until the imposition of martial law on September 23, 1972. Afterwards, President Ferdinand E. Marcos reiterated President Quezon's original proclamation by issuing Proclamation Number 10, 1966. Delegate Manuel Rojas signed the Constitution. He was the leading member of Committee on Style, also known as the Seven Wise Men, who had a significant impact on the final draft of the 1935 Constitution.
What was the context of the primary sources production? Primary data sources include documentation or objects produced in an incident by a witness or participants, diaries, letters, interviews, oral histories, photos, newspaper, papers, government records, poems, novels, play, and music can be among the primary sources. 1935 Constitution was held for new evolution of the Philippine constitutional system before the transition of being an independent republic. Even after the colonial interventions, Constitution will eventually pattern and align its government system after the American government. The Constitution has the purpose of creating a suitable law pursuit that will establish the country's ideals, conserve general welfare and security for the development of our independency. A system that promotes prosperity, blessings of freedom, strong and fair command of justice, liberty, democracy, and necessary distinguished act that will flourish the country's growth. The 1935 Constitution provides the legalizing structure for the Commonwealth government, which is known as a transitional government prior to granting independence from the Philippines, with a constitution influenced by the USA. Kabilang sa mga pangunahing pinagmulan ng data ang dokumentasyon, mga bagay na ginagawa sa isang insidente o isang kalahok o isang saksi, mga talaarawan, liham, panayam o oral na kasaysayan, larawan sa papel sa pahayagan, talaan ng gobyerno, mga tula, nobela, dula, at musika ay maaaring kabilang sa mga pangunahing pinagkukunan. Ang 1935 Constitution ay ginaganap para sa bagong ebolusyon ng sistemang konstitusyonal ng Pilipinas bago ang transisyon ng pagiging isang malayang republika ng ating bansa. Kahit na matapos ang mga kolonyal na interbasyon, ang ating konstitusyon ay kalaunan ay huwaran at inahanay ang sistema ng gobyerno nito pagkatapos ng pamahalaang Amerikano. Ang saligang batas ay layunin na lumikha ng angkop na batas na magtatatag ng mga mithiin, konserbasyon, pangkalahatang kapakanan at seguridad ng ating bansa para sa pagpaunlad ng ating kalayaan. Ito ay sistemang nagtataguyod ng kaunlaran, mga pagpapala ng kalayaan, malakas at patas na utos ng hustisya, kalayaan, demokrasya at mga kailangan para sa pag-unlad daw ng ating bansa. Ang 1935 Constitution o Commonwealth Government, nakilala bilang transitional government bago ibigay ang kalayaan mula sa Pilipinas na may konstitusyon na naimpluwensyahan ng Estados Unidos. Bilang dagdag na din na impormasyon tungkol sa batas tidings MacDuffie, layunin ng pamahalaang Commonwealth na masubok ang kakayahan ng mga Pilipino sa pangasiwa ng sariling pamahalaan. 10 taon daw po ang binigay ng Amerika upang mahasa ang mga Pilipino sa kasanayang pampolitika at panlipunan. So para po tayong bata na tinuturuan ng isang matanda na magbisikleta, parang ganun po yung ginawa sa atin ng United States. Para po tayong masanay sa pagkilala ng mga suliranin at pagsusuri sa mga pagsusuri sa mga suliranin at pagbigay ng kalutasan. At kung mapayapa na ang ating bansa daw po ay at matatag na ang pamahalaan, nangangahulugan na maaari magsarili na ang mga Pilipino. At ang pagpapatibay ng batas tidings MacDuffie ay naging wakas ng mapayapang pagkikibaka ng mga Pilipino para sa kalayaan at nakakatiyak ang mga Pilipino na malapit nang dumating ang araw ng pagsasarili mula sa pananakop ng mga Amerikano. Sa pagtatag ng pamahalang Commonwealth ay nagbigay ng bagong pag-asa sa mga Pilipino tungo sa bagong panahon at kasaysayan ng bansa.
And that's the end of our presentation. Thank you for listening.